Shelbi.
Hey, Christy.
What's up? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks. I'm the first time guest that's been here. How do you say that? The first.
Three-peat. Is that a thing?
Oh, I don't know. Now it is. I'm the
Three-peat
guest. Except for Tay, but we're not counting her, okay?
Yeah, definitely. How you feeling? How you doing today?
I'm good. I feel like we've been talking a lot. We were saying that, like, we're talking a lot more since we're together, so both of our throats are a little...
I know. I feel like I haven't seen many people for the last year.
Yeah, a long time.
All of 2020. So now that whenever I'm with people, I'm like, I feel like my voice is sore. I mean, I feel the same way when I record videos or when Tay and I podcast. I'm like, wow, I'm not using it as much as I was.
Like a straight hour of talking. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I wonder if anybody else is having that experience.
I know.
Because none of us are really.
Because I'm like on my computer all day.
Ooh,
or just like at home. Yeah.
You said that this morning that our voices were like that, but I didn't correlate because we literally have not been talking.
Mm-hmm.
How weird.
And it always scares me because I'm always like, we're in the pandemic. Does my voice hurt? Because
oh god.
But it's the same feeling every time. It's not like a sore throat. It's just like a raspiness.
Yeah. Madison had it yesterday too when she was ordering. Mm-hmm. That's so weird.
Then also when we have masks on, like we're yelling over them.
Mm-hmm. Just 2020 things.
Just 2020 things.
Losing your voice for speaking to people.
Yeah.
How weird.
So what's up? What's new?
What is new? I'm married.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Can we talk about that, please?
Yeah.
So you threw your wedding together super quickly.
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months.
Crazy.
Yeah. It wasn't all me, I have to say, because I find that I'm pretty, I don't know if you call this good or bad, but I'm very good at focusing on one thing. And it's very hard for me to focus on multiple things. Yeah. So if there's one project I'm working on, I can't start the next one until
tunnel vision.
Yeah. So it makes me focus and get shit done. Yeah. But also very hard for me to think, got to get work done, got to get ahead of work for the honeymoon, and I need to plan a wedding all at the same time. Right. So my cousin really helped me. Like, she's the one who found where we could book the tent and the chairs. I tasked Madison with ordering the food. So it was more decorations was me, obviously my dress and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
What was the hardest part of planning a wedding?
Oh, God.
And then also what's the hardest part of doing it sustainably?
Right.
Both levels.
Yeah. So the hardest part of planning a wedding is for sure your family and just all of the drama. So like when my sister got married, there was a lot of drama. Yeah. And when going into mine, I was like, I'm going to try to do everything I can to avoid it. It's just like your family thinks certain things are tradition, so they should be done this way. Certain people should be invited because that's how they did it, etc. And for me, it was like, I wanted literally only people who I speak to on a weekly basis. Like if you're not someone who is like immediately in my circle, I don't want to feel like I have to entertain you on that day. And then, do
you think you would have had more people had it not been 2020?
No.
Really?
Yeah. It was always planned to be those people. Yeah. It was originally planned to be at like a hotel destination, not far, like Galveston, Texas, where the shitty beaches I keep telling you about.
Yeah, you were telling me the other day, you're like, our beaches aren't beaches. It's just like murky water.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but we can talk about that later because it is like because of oil spills.
Well, it's also all the nutrients that the Mississippi dumps into the Gulf. Oh, okay. And then also, yes, there's oil in the water. Literally, you can see like patches of it on the beach. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely just dealing with your family and trying to please everyone so there's not drama, but also still keeping what you want. Yeah.
Which is weird because it should be a day that's all about you, and it should be like a time of like, you know, family. At least I see this with like, I've always thought about, you know, planning my future wedding, and like my sister and I always joke that, well, we used to joke when we were younger because we used to watch Say Yes to the Dress at dinner every night. My sister, my mom, and I would watch Say Yes to the Dress, and my sister and I would always joke that we weren't going to bring our mom with us to pick out our wedding dress because she's just very specific in like the things that she likes, and, you know, would try to kind of hijack that. But I feel like, I mean, I think she'd be better now. This was years ago, but it should be a time that's about you and like everybody coming together to like make the bride and like whomever's getting married like their day, them be happy, you know?
It's like a celebration for you.
Why do you think that our culture has kind of hijacked that in some regard?
I it's just like, I don't know.
I guess it's an old tradition thing because parents used to be so ingrained.
Right. I think it's something that like is still persisting from where marriage started, because marriage originally was like a dowry kind of situation. Like the father was like selling off the bride, and there were like all these traditional things you did to like symbolize it. Yeah. And I think it's time for some people to let that go, Mom. But to be fair, my parents did a great job with the wedding. Like there was drama, but also like on the day, I think there was none, like just like, but like prepping for it and who I did and didn't invite and what I did and didn't want to do, you know. In the end, at the end though, everything was perfect. Honestly, I don't think I have any complaints about the day itself. So
yeah, amazing.
But I do, I hate the idea of tradition in general. Yeah. Because the idea of doing something for the sake of doing it, because we've done it for a long time, is quite literally dangerous. Yeah. So yeah, I hate that mentality. Yeah.
And then zero waste, what was the hardest thing to do sustainably?
Well, I think just planning ahead for everything was hard, because you
also did it so quickly. Yeah. Like, especially, you know, when I think of like doing everything sustainably, like secondhand, sometimes it just takes more time. Right. Like finding things, you know, that fit whatever you're going for.
Yeah. I definitely made like 700 trips to find plates at the thrift store, but also like we're setting everything up, you know, there's just so many little parts, and we're like setting everything up, like the plates, the knives, the forks, the tablecloths, whatever. And my cousin looks at me and she goes, "What are you going to use for napkins?" Oh. And I was like, "Oh yeah. And you can't just run to Walmart and get paper napkins, so you have to run to the thrift store and cut up some sheets and make them into."
Is that what you did? Did you sew the corners at all, or you just cut it? It was like on the day.
Literally, yeah. So, but it was something. It's like that. Like every step you make, there's like a little thing to remember.
But like you could just also get creative like that. I probably wouldn't have thought to do that, but you know, conversations like this are helpful because it's like, now if I'm in a predicament, oh yeah, sheets, I can cut them up, you know. Because it was maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing, hence why you didn't see it in the video. but yeah, that was just like a thing, you know. Everything, so you have to think through so many things. Yeah. So Tippy is oh, he's exploring the couch over there.
Okay, he's good.
Every podcast I ever record, there's always animals in the room, and it's always like people can't see it on camera, but there's things going on behind the scenes.
I just don't want him to knock anything over, but he has to follow me everywhere, and I assume that he is going to eventually get to a point where he needs to be next to me.
Right. I mean, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you just lay down.
So the hardest part doing zero waste was the planning ahead, you think?
Yeah, it's just, and finding everything, right? Because I started searching like the day I decided, and trying to find a dress. I literally, like, driving from Houston to San Antonio, looked at dresses all the way here just to find one secondhand that was in my size and like something remotely I would like.
So were you just going to like thrift stores?
For the dress?
Yeah, secondhand dress shops.
I did. I wanted to go. I actually originally, when I was going to get married pre-COVID, had planned to go to San Francisco because Catherine told me there was this place. It's like the biggest secondhand dress shop, wedding dress shop in the world, I think. I don't know. And I was like, oh, that would be so cool to like actually go shopping for a dress. Yeah. But obviously I didn't do that. So I just did like all my usuals, eBay, Poshmark. Right. And then I looked on,
because people are going to sell their dresses too. Like, I think some people, like when I started thinking about going zero waste, that was the one thing, is I was like, I don't think I'm going to buy a secondhand wedding dress just because I have a very specific vision on what I have. But realistically, somebody else has a vision of what I want too. And people realistically wear their dresses once. Right. And so people are selling them. There's is he gonna knock over the water glass? There's a secondhand dress shop for anybody in the Northeast. They have one location in Portland and also another location in Seattle, I believe. I can't remember the name of them. You'd just have to Google it. I'm sure it'll pop up. But you used, what was it called? Still White. Which that's super cool.
Very cool service, right?
Online version of that. Then you wouldn't have to go all the way to one.
Right. The only thing that's scary about Still White is you can't try it on right before you get it. So I was very nervous about that. But always like buying a size up is probably, and what's really cool is
would they let you return it?
I think maybe some of them do.
Yeah.
But like you're in direct contact with the bride that you're buying it from, so she can measure like anything you would need.
Right.
So yeah, it worked out in the end. I absolutely love my dress, and I struggled to be like, do I sell it so that someone else can use it?
Right.
But I love it so much. And then I'm like, can I cut off the like bottom layer and
wear
make
it again?
Yeah. So I still haven't decided.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, that's so hard. Because it's one of those things that like when you're like, I'm a minimalist, I'm going to have none of the things that I need. And then you all of a sudden build emotional attachments to things.
I know. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to do that.
I know. I still have some stuff from college. Well, honestly, partially for like the emotional thing. Well, not really. Also just because like I have some college shirts with like my sororities letters on them that I custom made in college. I have one. I shouldn't say I have some. I have one, but I'm like, I'm not going to give it away because it would have to go to somebody specifically. Like I can't just,
right.
I'd have to find somebody specifically in my sorority. Also, like it's custom colors that I made. Like who's going to want it? I don't know, but I still have it.
Right.
I shouldn't. Oh, I was in a sorority for like 2 years, so I shouldn't have it.
Why do I feel like I didn't know that?
It's a long story. We got kicked off campus. I was like in my second year of being in it. Honestly, it could be a story time YouTube video because it's a long story, but
wow.
I was like the treasurer of it, but I honestly didn't love it. It's definitely something that when you go to college, you like, I was told to do all the things, and these are things that I reflect on now. Like, this just took a turn, me talking about this now, but I feel like I came out of high school being like, I have to do the thing that everybody else is doing. When in my heart, I knew I was different than most of the kids in my grade or all of my friends. But I also like seeing on TV growing up in Canada my whole life, wanted to go to a big American state school. I wanted to go to football games. I wanted to do all of that.
I remember you saying about like the football games and the cheerleaders and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh man, I was like pumped to move to America because like I saw what everything was like. I watched Disney Channel. I thought I was moving to High School Musical. straight up that's what I thought. Or like Friday Night Lights. Little did I know I was moving to Connecticut. It's very different. But yeah, I growing up, I like saw on TV all of these like big state schools that everybody was going to, and I just wanted the American college experience. Right. I think a lot of people in other countries, I mean, depending on the person, but some people do like, you know, it's what we see in media, right? If you're from an English speaking country. And so I did the whole thing. All my friends were joining sorority, so I joined a sorority, and I just didn't love it in the end. I think I would have been better suited going to a school in a city, something more creative,
right,
than traditional big state school, just because that's my personality.
Right.
So I was like struggling with liking the sorority and like wanting to leave and going through a breakup and all these things. And my sorority got kicked off campus, so I didn't need to leave it. It kind of left me. It actually worked out really well. No, I also still like loved my experience in it. It's like one of those, you think back and you're like, would I do something differently? Like probably, but also I'm really grateful for my experience and I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's cool. I always thought of sororities as like two, I might offend people. It just feels a little culty.
It is a touchy, yeah. No, it's definitely a touchy topic to talk about because I get the same thing. Like I get people who weren't in Greek life who approach me and I have this really weird experience with it, but yet I still defend it because it is kind of culty, but I also loved my experience in it.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, I mean, if you liked it, that's all that really matters, right?
I loved it, but I hated it. Like at the time I wanted to leave it. You know? I don't know.
You know?
Sorry, no, keep going.
Well, it's just my whole school was a cult.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked about that here before, but Texas A&M is quite literally like a cult.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the thought of joining another one within that one was like, let me not.
Well, I find American university is interesting in and of itself because it's become a business. It's become this like branding, like tribal thing of one school against the other.
Yeah.
And you go to like, you know, all these football games and like people wearing things for the rest of their lives from where they're from. Not everyone. It kind of becomes like a small select few, but
yeah.
It's interesting to see. I mean, people should be proud of where they went and the accomplishments that they have.
Yeah.
But it is a very like American hoorah thing, you know?
Well, like at Texas A&M, they have again, their biggest thing is tradition, which the idea of tradition, I've already said, is not, I don't love it. And it's like if you don't do some of these traditions, then you become like an outcast, or people like shame you for it.
Right.
And that was always just
when in theory it's school, but I think a lot of these schools have become businesses, and so they see like, oh, this is a way for us to market and us to like, yeah, you keep the pride, you get alumni donations, you get all that.
I used to work for the alumni donations.
Me too. That was my college job. I like literally worked in the center, and I would call alumni and be like, oh my gosh, that was a whole thing. We had a script, and I had to ask them 3 times, or I was going to get fired.
Oh my God. So Madison tried to work there because she couldn't find a job, and I was like, well, they're hiring at my job, like you come work there. And she literally made it like a day, and she was like, I'm not gonna ask people who tell me no 3 times.
No, it feels really uncomfortable. You're required to ask them 3 times, like, would you consider donating, like, you kind of bring it down each time, like, would you consider donating $75? Would you consider donating 50? But would you consider donating 10? But every time in between, they're like, no, I just told you no. I had some people, I will never forget this one call that I picked up. So you're sitting at a desk and the computer kind of calls people. And I literally had somebody pick up the phone, because we also called in the middle of dinner to their home.
Like this from 3 to 9 or 5 to 9.
Yeah. I wonder how it is now that people don't really have home phones. Like,
someone called me the other day at like 2 o'clock.
On your cell phone? I guess there's our answer.
Yeah.
But I remember calling a home phone, and some guy picked up, and he goes, literally all he says is, stop fucking calling me, and hangs up, like in that exact tone.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, yeah, this is, but I had several of those.
Yeah. I went to a smaller university before I went to Texas A&M, and we dialed with our hands with a paper list of numbers, and we dialed by hand.
Whoa. We had like a computer system that I basically sat there with a headset, and it just kept calling people at random.
Well, when I went to A&M, then we had that.
Oh, okay.
And like I say, Texas A&M is a cult. Fight me. But so many people said yes, and we're always so excited to hear about what's going on at the school, and like, yeah, it's just I
did have some really interesting conversations. I remember, like, I would call people, and they had graduated like 60 years ago, and they tell me where they lived, and there was like all these crazy living situations. I remember there was one of this guy telling me that he lived in a specific dorm that our campus had as like all freshman housing, and that him and his wife lived there at the time. And I was like, you cannot do that now.
Yeah.
That's just not a thing.
That's
but it was
so
like post-war,
right,
like in the 40s, 50s kind of thing. And
wow.
It was interesting to hear older stories for sure.
Yeah. You get to talk to some interesting people.
Yeah.
Even though, I think that would be a cool part of the job. Everything I look back on when I was younger, even just like a few years ago, I'm like, I was not very aware of what I was doing, or just like living life, not really consciously. And I think about it, and I'm like, if I could do that now, it would be so cool, because now I have so much more perspective.
Yeah. This is a conversation that my partner Brett and I have all the time, because he's very pro traditional academia, which, as am I. I definitely, like, I grew up literally in traditional academia. Like, my grandparents were university professors at a big college in Canada called McGill. Yeah, my grandparents were they're badass, honestly. My grandma was a biologist of some sort. I honestly can't think of what specific type. And my grandfather was a parasitologist.
Oh wow.
And like studied bugs, and they had like, you know, they did interesting, like they studied in Paris for a couple years, and my grandfather was studying butterflies in South America. So when you went into their house, they had butterflies like in cases kind of everywhere,
like shadow boxes.
Yeah
That's so cool.
But definitely growing up around them, like they were very traditional, old school academia, like and McGill in Canada is like a kind of the equivalent of like an Ivy League school in Canada. It's a very good school. And so they, you know, were definitely the type to, we went to the opera and we went to the ballet, and, you know, we had proper, they were also both immigrants. So like we had like, you know, all the Lithuanians come over for dinner, and it was always like very proper and like, I don't know. But, so I grew up in that setting. So I definitely, because my grandparents were very, very important role models in my life, I think of academia like very highly now because of that. But at the same time, the way it is now is very different, and I cherish learning so much. But but I didn't really need to pay that much money for the degree that I have personally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do, like a lot of people use their degrees, but I think a lot of people just go to university because that's what you do. But taking time, like, you know, in European culture, it's very much more widely accepted to do a gap year or just think about it maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Versus here, it's like you get in crazy student debt.
Which is not a problem over there either.
Right. It's just a system that, I don't know. And I feel like my high school that I went to in America was very much so like the 4 years that you went to school were about what t-shirt you were going to wear as a senior on college t-shirt day, because we had like a day where all the seniors wore a t-shirt from the school that they were going to be going to.
Yeah.
And it was very much so like, oh, you're going there, like a pride thing.
Yeah.
And if you said, you know, I think it's really smart to do like 2 years of community college and then transfer. But if you said that you were going to go to a community college to save money, because if you graduate from the other school, you're still getting the diploma from there. Like nobody has any idea,
right? But
you're saving so much money. But it's really interesting that the whole culture is just very much so about like, where are you going? And there's no question that you're not going.
Right.
Depending on where you live, for sure.
Well, I think it's only gotten worse. Like my cousin, she's a freshman and she's been talking and thinking about her career since she was in fucking 4th grade. Like they're priming kids for like,
right.
And that's the thing. Like when
I remember too, like people as freshmen were going on college tours, and I was like, because I'm not from America, so it was a very foreign concept to me, but people were touring colleges at 15 years old, and I was like, whoa, you're thinking about this already.
That's the thing, right? Like it's forcing kids to grow up so early and to think that their life has to be all about work. There's also this weird shift that's happened, right? When our parents were getting, well, I don't know about everybody's, but our parents' generation, their jobs were not solely based on like passions,
right?
Whereas now it's almost like work has become such a huge part of American culture that it's like we're looking for jobs with purpose because we know our job is going to be our life.
Right.
And you're prepping kids from like elementary school that's the mentality they're going to live by, that their job is their life.
But what's also interesting is like in reality, most people get a degree in something and get a job in something that's very different from their degree, which is awesome because you don't have to have it all figured out when you're in school. But also our generation moves jobs like crazy, which is amazing. You should be able to test things out and say, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to like try something else out, you know? But I just, it's not that I'm against academia at all. Like I definitely am pro going to university and like finding the one that fits you, finding, you know, maybe for some people they reflect and they're like, I don't want to go to an American school. I want to go somewhere else. Or maybe they want to do a trade or they want to do something. But it's just, our culture is very much so programmed. And I also will say this is not in every neighborhood. And I think this is why my boyfriend and I have such arguments about it, because he comes from a very different culture than me. I come from definitely like suburbia, like middle class, you know, situation where that's like the praised thing to do. But people don't even question. Like, I think I personally, I kind of knew and I'm kind of using my degree now, but I don't think I needed to spend the amount of money, obviously, because I went for something like more entrepreneurial. I'm not proving my degree to anybody. But like I could have done self-taught stuff, but then it's like, okay, well, is that person to do self-taught? Like you have to be the right personality for that too. I guess I'm saying is I wish people gave it more thought. Because there's so many routes that you can take, but we're told that there's one that is the correct way, and it's probably right for 90% of the people. You know, and of course, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to school because you need to know how to be a doctor. But if you're going to be a YouTuber, which this is the thing that every YouTuber says, like, I feel like every YouTuber is against traditional college, because none of us used our degrees, but we have to think that most people don't want to be YouTubers.
Well, okay, two things there. First of all, like a lot of people, I don't know what the percentages are, but a lot of people go to school and then they get a degree that they don't end up using. Right. So that I think there is a huge portion of people who are just doing it because they have to. I mean, in my personal life, Like everyone who I was friends with and my family, like who graduated around the same time as me, we all went to school, and I'm the only one of us who's doing anything remotely close to what we started.
Really?
Going to school. Yeah. Like a lot of them dropped out, got different jobs, got degrees, but didn't find jobs in that.
Right.
And like, so I think it's a huge portion of people who are spending all this money on something that's not valuable.
And it's one of those things, like I said, I'm a big proponent of try different things to find what works for you.
Right.
But the way that our system is set up here is it's so expensive to do that.
Right.
So what can we do instead?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I tell people too, is like some people wait until after college to like get an internship or get their first job in the field. And like I had several jobs throughout college in the sustainability field. So I always tell anyone who asks me for advice, like do every single internship, do every single volunteer, do every single group, club, like anything you can to make sure that you're doing the right thing before you get out. And you're like, what the hell did I do? Yeah. But I also want to say, for anybody who thinks I hate education, I don't. Yeah. I love my college experience. I would go back in a heartbeat. My dream job is to be a professor. So I have nothing against college. Yeah. But I feel very bad for so many people who, they're just like pigeonholed into this thing.
Right.
And
I have many friends who like, they just come out with like a lot of debt, and then they're like, I still don't know what I want to do, because that's not really what college sets you up for. You have to go and do the work yourself to like figure that out. Yeah. I'm definitely not, again, like I'm also not against school. Like I'm very happy for my experience and for going. Yeah. I just wish that the norm was to give it more thought and to learn about who you are before you just pay $100,000. You know,
I know,
because that's what it is like here.
Having that kind of debt on my name, like that was just, that's crazy to me. But how did we get there?
And then I feel like, well, also the debt thing allows us, like we weren't bogged down by it, so we were allowed to like go after things because we weren't crippled by debt. You know, but if I had debt, then I would not be able to go after YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
I mean, I definitely, like when I got my first job, it was like, first thing I'm going to do is pay off all of this debt, or I will never be able to do. I didn't have a lot. I had like $20,000, but it was like, I got to pay this off or my life will just be, you know,
a slave to it.
Right. Yeah. So I
shouldn't say slave. That's a crazy term, but you know what I mean.
But I know. Yeah, I know. But that's like, what was I going to say? Yeah, I definitely couldn't have taken a risk on this job if that hadn't happened. Yeah.
Whoa.
Hello, feedback.
I don't know if they could hear that feedback. That was weird. How did we get here? The wedding. So then planning the honeymoon. Did you know you wanted to do a road trip, or was that sort of just because 2020?
Yeah, because originally, so we wanted to go to Thailand. That was destination number one. And then I started talking to a couple people, Amy being one of them, and she was like, or you could come to London. And like, I was like, what the fuck, Amy? But we've always said that we wanted to go to Italy. I swear I was meant to be Italian. Okay. And so it was like, and I know for a lot of people, Italy and like England are not that close together, but for me,
for us, much closer.
So I was we decided, like, I think late last year we would go do like a not a backpacking trip, but like seeing a lot of that area. And then COVID happened, so it was like, well, let's do a road trip. And I'm such a sucker for fall, but like I'm sure you've noticed, there's no fall here, right? And so I was like, well, we could just go to the Northeast and see fall. So that's what we did. Yeah.
Well, I wish you guys could see. I'll have to like pano over to it, but it's very fall feeling in here. We've got lots of pumpkins and decor. I think Tay and I did a podcast where we were talking about decorating for the seasons, and I've been such a frumpy human, just not wanting to decorate my space, partially because I was like, I'm a minimalist, I don't need decor, but honestly it's just because I don't have the time and I want to decorate. I also don't really have a space that's like mine. But I don't know, you've inspired me to decorate, at least for Christmas, especially this year. We need something to just...
I know. Yeah, Christmas is not my thing, but fall is my thing. My sister is normally here, and she normally decorates for Christmas for me, but she won't be here this year. So,
question, what did you do about a tree? What are your thoughts on Christmas trees sustainably?
No.
Just none. None at all.
No. My sister, we didn't have one last year, actually.
Okay.
I don't even think she asked me for one last year. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was kind of weird. But I just, when I was a kid, I was always so excited to go pick out a real Christmas tree every year. And I love real Christmas trees because they smell like Christmas trees. And so, but also it's so hard to talk about which one is more sustainable because you're comparing completely different things, like resources to grow a tree versus plastic and electrical stuff that will be here forever. So it's really hard to say, but we don't have one. I haven't had one since I moved out of my parents' house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because you're like growing a tree to just chop it down and use for a month in your house, and then
right.
I would like to have a tree one day, just because that is like the cultural thing that we grew up with, and like I dream about. Part of the same reason I dream to have kids one day, even though like who knows, but you know, I just want to decorate because it's like the thing.
If you have kids, I feel like it's definitely
for sure
a bigger
my plan is, my mom has multiple faux trees, so I know that at one point she will be getting rid of one in the next few years. She's actually offered one to me, but I was like, I don't have any space for it. So my plan is to just get a secondhand fake tree.
Yeah, you could definitely.
Which I don't think will make Brett happy because I think he wants to do the traditional. It's the same argument in my family's household too. My mom's like pro fake tree just because it's easier. My dad is pro like cult, like tradition, and you know, the real tree.
Yeah,
which I was too before I got into sustainability. But I have seen I think I saw this on Instagram, like a family I followed on Instagram, for their first Christmas together, they planted a tiny tree outside, and then every year it's gotten bigger. So they go out to their yard and they decorate the one in their yard, and they leave it there all year. And then they decorate it every year, which I love.
Well, I definitely can't grow a Christmas tree here.
That would be interesting to see.
But you definitely
The vegetation here is wild to me.
I'll have a cactus. I'll grow a cactus.
I've never like seen cactuses just like in people's yards, you know?
When she got here, I opened the door and she's like out in my yard looking at the cactus. It's like far away. You have a cactus in your yard.
You have a cactus in your yard. I think that was the first thing I said to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I don't know though, but
you can grow a lot of things here too.
Yeah, just not a Christmas tree.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we have a long growing season, and people always comment that like you're lucky you have such a long growing season, and I'm like, yeah, we do, but also like my growing season for pumpkins is like way after when pumpkins are relevant.
What's interesting is like there are, you know, places, every place has pluses and minuses, you know, there's no one perfect place to live that has every amenity that you want.
For sure. Unless it's San Francisco.
I don't know. We were arguing about this last night because I want us to live in the same city. I keep arguing this. Yeah. I've never met Emmy too. And like the one time we spoke on the phone, I was like, you can move here.
Christie's literally like, let's all move to the same place and we'll just do everything
move to
together.
The same city, and we'll all be friends all the time. It's going to be great.
It would be great. And then, well, maybe we don't talk about the reality of how that's going to go, but Christie's talking about some interesting things.
We have some ideas. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think people maybe people do realize YouTubing is a very lonely job. Yeah. Like most of my friends who work, you know, traditional, like they have coworkers. Right. They have all of those things, and I'm just alone in my bedroom constantly.
And on top of it being a lonely job, it's a job that you're having to figure out every single thing on your own.
Because you're not told like how much to charge. How do I answer these emails? I mean, you could hire a management company. Yeah. But you got to find the right one, because honestly, in our niche, finding someone to help you manage stuff in and of itself is a difficult task. Totally. That could take a lot of time. Totally. I'm not going to sign with a management company that's telling me to do like brand deals with, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and there's also so many of them that try to take advantage of you. Like,
totally.
I think you did get taken advantage of by once upon a time, right?
Okay. My biggest tip, we could talk about this for like 2 seconds because not everybody's interested in this stuff, but, if anybody wants to start a YouTube channel, do not sign with an MCN. Yeah. I think they're a dying breed anyways. Like they're not really a thing anymore.
Well, the one that took advantage of you hits me up every single week, all the time.
Yeah. They took 40% of my AdSense, which as of right now is my sole source of income because I'm trying not to do sponsorships. Yeah. But I was with them for like 5 years or something, and they took 40% for doing nothing. Like literally just 40% of me trying to finally sustain myself on my own and like get my own apartment and move out of my parents' house,
Right.
they were taking 40% of that. And it wasn't much at the time, but and that's why I kind of stayed on with them. But they were supposed to help me with so many things.
Right.
They gave me a training every year on SEO that I probably could have paid someone $20 to do,
Right.
like some specialist who, you know, has a channel. I probably could have taken their course on it.
Yeah.
Or I could have just learned from YouTube videos.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, don't sign with an MCN.
60-40 is a huge split. I can't believe they said that to you.
And that, like, they used to be the origins of MCNs were advantageous if you lived in like LA and they could network you with other YouTubers, then maybe it was worth paying for. But now that we have Instagram, you can just reach out to them and be like, hey, do you want to hang out?
Right.
And do some stuff together.
Yeah.
But also I didn't live in LA. Like nobody lives near me.
Right. And
so
I said that to them every time they've reached out to me. Well, I don't respond anymore because I've found someone that I'm trying to, you know, work with instead. But I would say, I'm not going to sign with you unless you're going to guarantee me something in return.
Yeah, no, they don't they tell you that they're going to do all these things. And I took a call with another one, like right after I left the one that I was with, because they promise you all these things. Like they tell you, oh, we're going to network you with other YouTubers. We're going to get you brand deals. I was never pitched a realistic brand deal with
and that's
them
the thing.
Once, not once in like 4 years. And, they tell you that they're basically going to be like help you along the way, but they do nothing, and then they take 40% of your income.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And they also something else they do
They're
to try to
kind
trick
of
people.
like, and we're not the only people that have this opinion. Like everybody has the opinion. Like if you Google MCNs, they're a scam.
They do this other thing where they try to get YouTubers who are up and coming, like they're growing pretty fast.
Yeah.
So that then they can tell people when they pitch them, the average person that has started with us has grown by X amount since the coming on with us, to make it sound like it's their doing. Right. When in reality, they just...
I also find with so many places, they say that XYZ is their client. So I'm like, oh, I'll be managed by the same team as, you know, a couple YouTubers that I know. Yeah. And so then that makes me feel like, oh, cool. Or I find this even with PR companies too. But there's no proof that that person is a part of their network. I think sometimes, you know, if they've done one brand deal with someone, or I think there's a lot of just like fake PR companies that will just put like, oh, we've worked with so-and-so, and they've emailed them once, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that makes me feel like they're more reputable.
Yeah.
And that was part of why I signed with mine, because there was a few people in there that I was at the time.
Yeah. Well, I got
looked up.
You should, well, now I don't know about them, but now if people say that stuff to me, I reach out to the person that they're saying and I ask, because recently a company reached out to me and they're like, we helped do so-and-so. And I reached out to them and I said, this brand told me that they've worked with you and that whatever. And I said, I'd like to know if you think I should work with them. And she said, honestly, I'm going to tell you no. Yeah. And then she like scheduled a Zoom call with me and we talked all about it. But it's like, you can also just go straight to the source sometimes.
I need to start doing more stuff like that, because I do feel so lonely in what we do, but we're all here to help each other. Like we're not competing. Yeah. That's the thing. I think a lot of people think that YouTubers are competing. Like there's enough space for all of us. Yeah. This is one big community. I love you all, you know? Yeah. But yeah, wait, how did we get onto this?
Something about an MCN.
Oh, moving. So, Brett and I just found out that we are basically going to be moving. That's why I'm literally here right now. We are going to be moving a lot sooner than we thought. And so there's no one city that has every amenity that you want.
Except San Francisco.
Except in Shelby's opinion, San Francisco. I don't know. Like my criteria though, I think the number one thing for me is I just want to be by the mountains and be able to ski. And I guess I could do
San
that.
Francisco.
What?
Tahoe is 4 hours from San Francisco.
Yeah, it's not far, but then you would have to get like an accommodation to stay. And I don't know if I have the funds to afford skiing and an accommodation to stay every weekend, you know?
Fair enough. But how many cities have that?
Unless I just meet, if there are any Tahoe friends out there, just, you know, want to put me up every weekend, like that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll let you, girl.
The thing is, for me, I'm skiing is not my thing, which is the reason that San Francisco appeals to me so much, because there are mountains and beaches and the weather is phenomenal and networking is great, and the community, like the amenities that come along with San Francisco, the weather is the number one thing for me. Yeah. But yeah, I love San Francisco.
Yeah, I love snow and I love mountains. Yeah, but that's what I grew up in, so that's why I love it. But yeah, I'm excited I won't reveal where we're moving for our next chapter or what we're doing exactly, but I'm excited I feel like I haven't really shared that whole part of my life with the internet yet, because I mean, I've shared things here and there, but like skiing was my life growing up. Like I wasn't allowed to go to birthday parties. I wasn't allowed to do any of that stuff because I was skiing every weekend. Which, you know, I look at it now and I'm like, I was such an asshole kid to be like, I can't come. I have to go skiing.
Yeah.
But
they're like, what?
My parents just
everyone
forced
knows
us
that kid.
into it.
Everyone knows that kid that's like, what the fuck? She's going skiing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny.
But no, it was my life. Like I raced and all my best friends to this day is because we skied together.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the kid that was allowed to play soccer and it's like these things that like, I'm an ungrateful bitch, but like, you know,
you seem to be traumatized by not being able to play soccer. You've brought it up many times.
No, I still hold it against my mom sometimes. I wanted to play. The thing is I wasn't very good. Yeah. She wasn't pulling me out because, you know, it was like a thing I was really into, but I was just really mad at her that I wasn't allowed to play that one year. And then after that, I was not allowed to play because we were doing things every weekend. I mean, we weren't skiing in the summer, to be fair, but my parents were just very, they did what they wanted to do. And my sister and I kind of went along with it. Yeah. And it's not like, you know, oh, we got to travel, you know, like
my life is so hard.
My life is so hard. But as a kid, like all I wanted to do was hang out with my friends. I never got to go to birthday parties. Right. Because we were doing things all the time. Yeah. But in hindsight, like that's exactly, if I were to have kids, that's exactly how I would raise them is I want to live my life. I'm sorry, but you got to come with me.
I think my parents did a lot of things and didn't do it well. My parents are just kind of boring in general, but we traveled some when I was younger, but mostly like road trips, which I think is also a huge part of why I think like an 8-hour, 9-hour. I drove from here to Tucson once.
I was going to say, I also think that that's like a Texas thing because the state is so big that I think people in Texas are really comfortable with driving long distances. Is something that, because my roommate's also from Texas. So something I've picked up. And do you think that?
Yeah.
Like people do road trips here.
It's literally 8 hours unless you're going to Louisiana, which... Sorry, Louisiana. I love New Orleans, but like also who wants to go to Louisiana? So like getting out of Texas west or north is 8 hours. Right. So you have to be ready for a lengthy road trip. And there's nothing really cool in Texas.
Texas is a massive state.
Yeah, it's really big, but it's really flat and pretty boring and arid.
Yeah. Sorry, great. I just cut you off.
No, you're fine. But if you go to like West Texas, Big Bend is pretty cool. But again, 8 hours.
Right.
So.
Big state.
You got to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And but I remember on the last day of school every year, my parents, I think it was a holiday weekend, I guess, I don't know, but we would always go camping. We camped a lot, not in tents. Yeah. In RVs.
Texas.
Yeah.
But it's so hot here. If you were camping in a tent, like it's a different ball game than like I don't do much like car camping. We do a lot of backpacking and like climbing a mountain. And once you're up there, it's very different. I'm freezing. Like I have a 0 degree sleeping bag. I'm freezing. Yeah. Very different. If I camp anytime in the middle of the summer, like sometimes we'll camp on the other side of the state where it's a lot hotter than Seattle. Anyways, I wake up just infuriated. It's so hot in there. It's so hot.
Yeah. You don't want to be sleeping outside in a tent in Texas. Absolutely not. But every year on the last day of school, they would be planning for us to go camping and they would want to take us out of school early. And like, of course now it's like, damn, I would have loved to get out of school and like go somewhere else. Yeah. But at the time I was like, I just want to stay at school until it's the last day. You know what I mean? Kids are just that way.
It's funny because kids don't have any concept of like material things. Like we do just want, which it comes back to just being human, you know? So like, yeah, okay, I sound like a brat saying I didn't get to do all these things, but I really just wanted to be with my community. I really just wanted to learn how to be a kid and like learn how to be normal, I guess. But kids don't have an idea of material possessions or cultural experiences or, you know, things that are bigger than that. And that also brings it back to just like what it is to be human, which I think is really beautiful in its own way.
I'm moving my thing.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, you can hear it if you touch the wires, you can hear it.
You guys don't care. You know what's going on.
This is a makeshift production.
just
If
a little
anything.
bit. Yeah. We also kicked our partners out of the house so that they could go hang out and we can just do this in peace without them running around.
I wonder what their conversation is going on right now.
I'm so nervous for them because Brett is he's actually done really well this trip. I feel like last time he was pretty like
reserved.
Yeah. And this time
he and I are very different.
but this time he's like very, he's done a lot better. But Madison will talk and talk and talk. Like the gem
of this earth.
There's no quiet moment with Madison. Yeah. So I can only imagine that Brett is.
So the reason he hasn't really been on camera is because he is very like reserved and private and like doesn't really want to be on camera much. But we're kind of. He's opening up to it more and more.
I'm really hoping I pressured him last night.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that their conversation is like, but I'm not going to push him to do anything he doesn't want to do. Like, let's start with that.
Yeah.
But, I hope that she's talking to him about that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Probably.
Because she had the same experience.
Yeah. Madison, I don't know what that was about. She never really gave me reasons. I think she just didn't want to be a public figure.
Right. I think it's hard because we grew up watching YouTube. And so it was just something that we wanted to do. We willingly like wanted to put ourselves on camera.
Yeah.
But I don't know about Madison, but like Brett didn't grow up watching YouTubers and it's a foreign concept to him.
Right.
And I think if you haven't fully immersed yourself in it, you don't really understand like, okay, well, what am I subject to if my face is on the internet? Yeah. Same thing with like when you speak to parents and they're like, I'm not making a Facebook group or a Facebook page.
I'm not getting on the Facebook.
I'm not getting on the Facebook because they just don't understand, which fair enough, honestly, like there is risk to all these things. Like,
right.
It's a realistic, question.
Yeah. But I go, Brett, what do you have against social media? He said, I don't have anything against social media. What do you mean? That's what I do.
Yeah. Like, he literally works in social media. That's the ironic thing.
Yeah. But I get it.
But then he goes, I don't have it on my phone though.
Yeah.
Like he uses it for work and it's his job to like do, like he's in marketing,
right.
With digital ads. But he doesn't have any of the apps himself.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's honestly, I'm going to speak for him. I can't totally put all the words out for him, but I'm pretty sure it's just he doesn't like the idea of scrolling indefinitely and like losing all this time to social media.
I mean, I get it.
It's not even a privacy thing for him because he understands, because again, he works in it. Right. And yes, Facebook knows a lot about you. But it's more of a just time sucker.
I get it.
Like he has to block himself from going on Instagram because he'll sit there and scroll forever.
I was telling him yesterday,
for him, he thinks it's forever. But for me, I'm like, that was a quick 15 minutes. And he's like, I just wasted all that time. I'm like, that was 15 minutes of your life. You don't understand. Addictions are like when people are like they're checking their social media apps for 6 hours a day.
I know. I've seen some people. So I'm actually really surprised. Like a lot of influencers talk about how much time they spend on the apps, how bad they make them feel. I really don't do that. I just don't find scrolling Instagram appealing.
Yeah.
Don't get me on TikTok, but like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like it's like I get on and I check my DMs and then like I move on.
I've been in and out of it. In phases of my life, I was just addicted to social media where I was constantly scrolling for hours, like to the point where like I would just sit, I wouldn't go to bed. I would just lie in my bed and scroll it. But honestly, when I think back, I knew I had a problem and that I needed to stop it. And I did. It took a while to like figure out what would do that. But when I look back, the reason that I was doing that is because I did not feel happy and fulfilled in the other areas of my life. Like I didn't have friends. I was living at home with my parents and, wasn't happy with my own self, I think, for a little bit, and just used that as like a crutch, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like that for everyone, but for me, like I notice when I'm on social media more, it's because I'm confused about other things in my life. And I'm not saying social media is bad, because obviously this is a dilemma for me. Like I post things on social media. How do I do that more intentionally? I try not to over post and like waste people's time.
Yeah. That's actually a really interesting topic that we could dig in on, but you can go ahead.
Because it's also, it's on both sides, because social media changed my life. Like I wouldn't have known about veganism. I wouldn't have known about sustainable living. I wouldn't have known about minimalism, like all these things, even self-care, like the amount of just wholehearted self-care advice I follow and have learned through Instagram and through YouTube. Like, it sounds stupid, but I use both of them as an educational platform for the most part. I don't follow a lot of like fashion bloggers that I just like the look of their pictures.
I think that's the key too, to knowing if social media is worth scrolling, or if you, because that's what I was going to say. Like, I talk about like Instagram. But it's also,
sorry to interrupt, but one thought, that's also a utilitarian thing for some people, because some people really do love fashion and they do just want to like get creative inspiration, or they really do, look up to something that they've pictured in a positive way about somebody else. But there is a negative way of like comparing yourself to them and literally just using it mindlessly.
Well, yeah, I think the problem with Instagram is like what you just said. People are posting because they think they have to fulfill the algorithm.
Right.
And then you end up with all these posts that are not worth my time, not worth reading, not entertaining, not inspiring. Yeah. And so I think that's my biggest problem with social media, and why you don't see me posting. My hand's falling asleep. I have carpal tunnel. Why you don't see me posting on Instagram more? Because why would I post something if I don't have something unique to say that someone can learn from? I think that's a really interesting topic just to dive into in and of itself.
I feel the exact same way. And sometimes I do post just because I'm like, I haven't posted in a long time. But if I do that, I sit there for a couple hours and say like, okay, what can I put meaningfully in this caption? I'm not just going to post a picture of me with like an emoji in the caption, that's not my vibe personally. Because I don't want to waste people's time, and I want people to fill their life with people who lift them up. Yeah. And that might not be me, that might not be me, but I don't want to say that I am that person for everyone, but I don't know. I'm trying, I guess. Yeah. There's no perfect answer, but then at the same time, when social media was just starting, and social media ruined my life in so many aspects, in that like I was comparing myself. I did feel like I needed to go out and lift weights and like build my booty and all those things that Instagram was telling me. I love that. And I did, though. I got really into bodybuilding. I started listening to like bodybuilding.com and like going ham with it, because that's what social media told me was healthy and inspirational at that point in my life. And then I realized like, at least right now, like maybe my opinion will change, but like I don't really enjoy lifting weights. That's not my thing. I'm more of a cardio person. And then Instagram made me feel bad about liking cardio too, because they would demonize it as like, oh, I used to think to be healthy I had to do cardio. Like every fitness person on the internet, because now like the booty vibe is or like the lifting weights vibe, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. The Gymshark vibe is what's praised by our culture, but like health isn't one size fits all. It doesn't even like, yes, being strong, like if that's your thing, go for it. And like to some degree wish it was, because I am a very weak and lanky human, but I just don't enjoy it. And so I'm not going to force myself into that box. For me, I like dancing, and I like, I love the Stairmaster for whatever reason, because most people hate it. I love climbing mountains. I love skiing. Those are my forms of exercise. It doesn't need to be. And since COVID, I've really been enjoying home workouts. But again, like I got really into that because Instagram told me that it had to be that way, and I felt bad for the things that I actually did enjoy. Yeah. Because there seems to be trends on the internet of like XYZ is the thing that's cool, like
body types. How do body types trend? Right? How fucking weird.
How weird.
So weird. only humans in modern culture. So strange. I try to ignore it and be careful about who I follow. And oh my God,
but like then it's at the same time, like I hated those things, but then there's also like social media is just another form of like being around humans. Yeah. Just as there is in life, when I was in school, there was a group of humans that I didn't vibe with. There's a group of humans that I did vibe with. Right. And finding those people that you really do vibe with takes time. And social media is just another way of doing that. So like, that group of humans, now I see them and respect them for loving what they do. But like, I understand that I don't need to do that myself. Yeah. So yeah, it ruined my life to that degree, because I did develop an eating disorder, and I did develop fitness addiction and all of that stuff. Yeah. And feeling like my body needed to be a certain way when it just naturally is not, right. And then on the other side of it, I learned about the science behind nutrition, like even because like my school and like bodybuilding.com wasn't giving me that, for example. But like I learned about like actual doctors, and like I learned about veganism, and I learned about plant-based nutrition, and I learned about how to live sustainably and how to self-care. And you know, I'm not saying that every person I follow on social media is perfect, because we're all just humans posting things. Yeah. But there are a million sides to social media. And I think the one that gets pressed, because again, this is the trend right now, is stop spending time on social media. It's ruining your life. That's what gets clicks right now. But I think also like there's an aspect to social media that is so empowering, so can lift you up. But you know, there's a million and one angles you could take it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It depends on how you approach it, essentially, is how you're using it and who you're following.
But I think that also we need to think about the idea of, you know, that like certain titles will get clicks right now. And it's the same thing with like a certain figure gets clicks right now, or a certain topic of fitness gets clicks right now. But there are so many. Anyways. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah, it sucks because in order to do social media as your job, you have to subject yourself, or I guess, what's the word? Submit to some of the algorithms, which means that you have to produce content in a certain way, and it's hard for it to just be fun and just be organic.
Yeah.
And oh God, sorry. I think that that's what's leading to all these different like phenomenons on social media. So many people it's their income, and we're having to just like go with
subject to an algorithm.
Yeah, since it's our income, we have to do certain things and not do certain things.
Sometimes I wonder if like, would we be stronger if, so when I think about other media that I've consumed, TV shows, I knew that my favorite TV show came out once a week, right? And there was a whole team making that show. And I think that's what keeps them more balanced. It's more of a traditional way of looking at it, versus on social media, you're one person who's expected to do a YouTube video every week, and Instagram, like you're expected to do like, and a podcast, and like all of these things that take time to like actually produce. Like the filming is the smallest portion of all of this.
Right.
And sometimes I wonder, would we as creators be happier if we were all like collaborating on one platform, like one account to post, and then the audience is happy because they're continually getting content from that account? But like, what if, you know, we had like a joint, just as an example, like what if
you're
there's like a
trying to be Tana Mojo with trash? Did you ever hear about that?
What?
She literally did this.
Oh, really?
It was a couple years ago, but
my mailman's knocking on the door.
A couple years ago, she did these applications where she like had applications from smaller YouTubers. It was basically so she could help bring them up, but it was a collaboration channel where like each,
because it's like when you if you have a favorite TV channel, like if I'm watching MTV or E or whatever, I know I expect other shows to be on there, and then I also expect each show to have a team.
That's really interesting. Christie's all about collaboration is what I'm learning.
I mean, yeah, because I'm lonely.
I know.
I love all my friends, but like I'm the only person who I know in my, like I know you.
Yeah.
I've met Levi a couple times. Like I don't have many YouTuber friends.
Right.
Aside from following people on the internet.
And also we're all, for some reason it seems that social media people are bad at being on their phone. Yeah. So strange.
Because I think we're on our phones so much that like if somebody texts me, I'm probably not texting you back, and I'm so sorry, but like I just don't want to use my phone.
Yeah. But it's like it's just hard to connect because of that situation when you're not.
It's not that I'm not going to text them back. It's just going to take up a couple days
or weeks.
I'm more of a phone call kind of gal, like old fashioned. Call me on my cell phone.
Every time I text Christy, she's like, "Okay, can you call me?" Okay. Yeah, but I get the loneliness part. Although I'm a very introverted person, it definitely doesn't bother me as much. But it would be nice to relate to people.
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
Well, every time we get together too, I'm like, we should just do a Skype call like once a week.
Oh yeah.
And then we never do it.
Well, we'll see where your moving endeavors take you.
Yeah. Well, you might be coming with me. I keep every time we meet up, I'm like, so Madison, you're moving to, like,
Oh,
before
yeah.
it was Seattle, and then now I get here and I'm like, okay, so the plans have changed.
You need to move to this other place
Yeah.
now. Yeah, I think for the next like year or so, we're pretty tied here.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it's kind of, well, I mean, the goal is to move back to Austin in a year-ish or so. But, you know, who knows? That could always change, I guess.
So any closing thoughts? Anything you want to plug? What are you working on? Where can people find you?
Oh, God. What do I want to, am I doing anything interesting?
Am I doing anything interesting?
Wow. When is it going to come out?
Good question. Probably next week.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we can wait.
No, you're good. Because I'm working on something really exciting. The first thing I've ever come out with, it's like merch-ish. I never have anything to plug, right? I'm like, I spend all my time and energy on YouTube videos. Go watch those if you want. But I'm coming out with a product that I'm very excited about with a company that I love and with something that's very unique to me. And it's the first thing I've ever done. And I'm very excited. So, I don't know if I could say it yet because I don't know if it'll be ready. It will be launching in my Christmas gift guide. Keep an eye out for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that for you. I love that phrase. I try to use it whenever I can.
Yeah.
Love that for you. No, but really I do.
Yeah. I'm excited. We'll see how it goes.
So I'll link all of your profiles, even though everybody knows who you are, but you'll be linked, and this was fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Whenever you move to where I live, because I like, that's the thing. Like,
I love
every
that
time
it's only us
always
moving to Christie. When
it's
we
always
have a
moving
house
to me. I'm like not. No, well, we're here because we were thinking about moving to Austin.
Right. Wow. Just drop that bomb. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, we were thinking about it because Brett's really into property investment, and Austin is a great spot right now.
And we also have been playing with a lot of ideas. We just have to get Christie to stick to one idea at a time, and then maybe we could actually do something pretty cool. We'll see how that works out.
I need someone like you in my life to keep me on track.
I'll try.
No, it's up to me. Like, I think sometimes I get in these moods where I'm like, I need XYZ, but I think, you know, it's all about, like, you're the one who changes your life. Like, you have to take control and you have to figure it out, and you can't be dependent on like, oh, well, if I had so and so to help me. Like, no, you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it.
Yeah. Sometimes I see it from both sides.
Sometimes, yeah. I think community is important, but also, like, don't be afraid to just ask for help. Like, don't wait for somebody to come by. Like, you know, sometimes I could be in a mood where I could just text you about it, or I could just call you about it, or whatever, you know. That's just life. Like, you gotta look out for yourself, but you also can't be afraid to use your resources.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll be the fourth guest next time.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.